Hello everyone. In today's ARC profile we're going to be talking about is one of ARC's apex predators. Larger than T-Rex, Spinosaurus, and Giganotosaurus. This one's the undisputed king of apex predators. And you do not want to make it to get into its rage state. And that is meet Giganotosaurus is a large carnivorous dinosaur and of the most powerful creatures in the Ark. As an apex creature, deliver incredible amount of damage as well as gash, bleeding effects. Taming a wild Giganotosaurus can be considered one of the goal for a survivor. The Giganotosaurus will casually stroll about the island, slaughtering anything in their path. This can lead to them to wander just about anywhere on the island. Their lack of natural predators or any form of threat to them allows for their safe voyage across the island. With no natural predator, the Giganotosaurus is considered the apex predator of the island. With its strength and size, one could argue that it is the driver of evolution on the map. They can be found on those that are strong enough to take one down or tame one are guaranteed to thrive nearly unchallenged. Those that can't manage to end up with significant resources, loss at best, and ripped to shreds while possibly even losing everything at worst. The Giganotosaurus is an aggressive creature. Due to its rage mechanic, it will it will get angrier when being attacked, which makes it attacks deal more damage. Also, it regens stamina faster when enraged. If it builds up too much rage, it may even eats its own rider right off the saddle. Its range mechanic is not a health percentage based trigger. It only occurs if enough damage occurs quickly enough. It will also trigger even the server is set in the friendliest possible PvE and no friendly fire settings, in which normally it is not possible to hurt anything not wild due to its large stride, allowing it to walk over most obstacles and naturally high movement speed. The Giganotosaurus can outrun just about anything on the island, combined with its very large aggro range. This means it is the fast it is a fast and dangerous predator. But don't have to worry because their habitat is mostly on mountain areas. They don't often go down the mountains. But if they do, you might have to watch out for Giganotosaurus. And when you try to tame it, try trapping it with metal dinosaur gates and shoot it with either trank, trank darts or trank arrows. Once it's knocked out, you better hurry quickly because its torpor drains pretty fast. So you better have many narcotics because if you don't, you will become a Giganotosaurus meal when it wakes up. Now, for combat, the Giganotosaurus is one of the few creatures capable of taking down a guardian such as the brood mother by itself, and as such, much caution is needed when facing one. A wild or tamed Giganotosaurus is extremely dangerous simply because of its massive damage and health. This makes it one of the most deadly creatures on the island, if not the most deadly. Even even a low-level wild Giganotosaurus can at will be a very serious threat whenever the creature you fight it with. So be aware of its gash ability. Avoid it if you don't want to get devoured in 1 or 2 bites. Having a tamed Giganotosaurus can be a representation of skill and progression. It is therefore not a good idea to head-on attack a tamed Giganotosaurus, even if you can certainly take it on, which might result in retaliation from a tamer. If you are willing to invest time in taking great care of a tamed Giganotosaurus from a baby to an adult that is imprinted by you, then you would have one of the strongest tames in the game. And strategy. 9 times out of 10, it is best to avoid combat with a Giganotosaurus at all costs due to their devastating attacks and high health pool. Conventional weapons can damage Giganotosaurus, but do very little against their huge health, and are thus not advised. Using a lightning wyvern or poison wyvern, a rider can position the wyvern above the Giganotosaurus and attack it from above. Using breath attack, a survivor can also use Magnamar, Managarmr, and constantly shoot it with ice breath and jump out of harm's way when pursuing the Giganotosaurus gets too close. While the Giganotosaurus, a tamed or low-level bred Giganotosaurus, into the battle against the wild one, is most often suicidal. If you have managed to tame and bred multiple high-level Giganotosaurs together, combining their stats and imprinting the offspring, a fully imprinted Giganotosaurus with the most of its base stats near 50 all level points spent in melee damage is a force to be reckoned with. While high armored saddled are more effective, even if it is equipped with a standard quality saddle. Such a team is capable of out outright destroying even the hardest of wild gigas. In merely 10 or so bites, provide its imprinting survivor is riding on a saddle at a cost of only 25 to 50% of its health. While superbred Giganotosaurus is without a doubt one of the most effective means of killing wild Giganotosaurus, as well as Titanosaurs. It is by all means the hardest to acquire and requiring hours of gameplay, and more than a bit of luck to find a tamed, high-level wild Giganotosaurus to start breeding process. But if it can be done, it is it is definitely worth the effort for such a powerful addition to the any tribe's arsenal. Until then, other methods laid out below are more viable. On top of the terms of difficulty in acquiring a high-level Giganotosaurus, it is even more difficult and time-consuming in staking mutation for the Giganotosaurs when breeding them. It will be worth effort when your Giganotosaurus has so much mutations on its melee attack that is killing everything, including the biggest creatures, in several bites. With all the effort put into the taming and breeding, the end result would be a Giganotosaurus with a personnel color mutation. Griffins may make it possible to kill a Giganotosaurus as the rider can use weapons while flying, make certain have multiple spare attack, assault rifle, fabricated sniper rifle, and rocket launchers. With the Giganotosaurus' massive health pool, some may break during their hunt. You will also need a huge stockpile of ammo. Phoenix. The Phoenix has fireball attack that allows you to attack the Giganotosaurus from overhead without getting angry in response unless you get too close. And Giganotosaurus, Dinosuchus, and turrets, PvP, Titanosaur, and Quetzalcoatlus, and especially and weirdly enough, grappling hooks. The ocean, Allosaurus, T-Rex, Spinosaurus, and Rhinognatha. And for weaponry, amount of auto turrets can pose major threat to the Giganotosaurus, as they can deal a lot of damage quickly, and minigun and rocket turrets can be very effective against a Giganotosaurus. At one point, they could mount on the Quetzalcoatlus, but they are no longer able to be, leaving a raft as a only mobile option for bringing turrets. So, to the Giganotosaurus are slow swimmers. 4 or 6 plant species X can effectively push back a Giganotosaurus, but they do not do very much damage. And for danger, the Giganotosaurus can and will instantly kill all and the hardest of dinos. This, coupled with its health reserves, heavy bleeding, and its range mechanic, make it the most dangerous dino in the game. The Giganotosaurus' torpor will drain faster than it will rise. This makes it hard to tame it solo. They can attack up to 8 to 4 foundations high and 8 to 10 foundations beyond the wall. On extinction, the corrupted Giganotosaurus may now seem less threatening without the relatively high health and bleeding, but it all gets exchanged for high damage. A horde of corrupted Giganotosaurus in a forbidden zone with high damage and mate boosted can easily kill the hardest dino except for Titans. It may be invincible and unstoppable, but it has weaknesses. Like one, the Giganotosaurus is very vulnerable in the water, and its low stamina and slow swim speed can cause it to drown very quickly. However, its massive size will out, keep it out of the water. A wild Giganotosaurus can easily be lured into deep water and drown. This is likely to happen on Whiskey Peak as the Giga falls from the cliff into the ocean. Floating ice may block its way back to the surface and soon will drown to death. Another effective way of killing the Giganotosaurus is use lightning and poison wyverns. Will make easy work on a Giga. And they are highly vulnerable from behind since their turning radius is wide. A mech can easily get behind a Giganotosaurus out of range bite. And a Giganotosaurus attacks have a large AoE, but it has a blind spot where its tail begins and its hip ends with a spot big enough for a player to grapple onto the grappling hook and kill it from there. With a high damage melee weapon, because the player is on it, the Giganotosaurus will constantly turn to try to bite you off, but it can't. And now for its rage mode. When a Giganotosaurus enters rage mode, its eyes glow bright yellow, an ominous sign to warn enemies and allies alike. It boosted damage and reduced and resisted modifier. In this state, it is a force to be reckoned with. even rivaling the power of other menacing giants, like the dragon and even the Dodo Rex. If it is tamed, it will throw the rider off and attack everything around it, including allied creatures or the player. This effect will only last about 20 seconds, which is more than enough time for a catastrophic amount of destruction to occur. Before it becomes in range, a heart is shown below its stat bar. The player should be cautious as more heart begins to glow. Once the heart is filled, the Giganotosaurus will enter the rage mode. And now, here are the causes on the Giganotosaurus in its rage mode. If taking amount of damage in a short time, this includes, but is not limited to C4 rockets and reflected damage from the like of Giganotosaurus, a stomp from a King Titan is enough to auto-enrage them. Flame damage, however, will not make the Giganotosaurus rage mode. This can make using flamethrower, fire wyvern, or even the phoenix a viable option for burning down a Giganotosaurus. Both wild and tamed Giganotosaurus gain range, and more range they have, increasing damage they deal. Now, I know you might be wondering, what about fall damage? Well, in the past, the Giganotosaurus used to gain range mode from fall damage. However, this mechanic has been removed at that same time. Changes were made to make the rage buildup factor in raw damage, opposed to mitigate damage. And for their roles in the game, tanks, siege engine, meat farmer, guardian, taming support hunter, rock elemental defense, and for an alpha hunting, titan killers, battle mount, obtain a supply drop defender, Genesis brute hunter, fish meat collector, and transport. And that's it for this video. Like and subscribe, and see you later, guys.